Before I continue into the names and other translations, what I want to do first here is to get rid of the misunderstandings of the so-called Hebrew names and versions of the Bible. And I will show you, if you recall from 401, I showed you how the history of all of these spiritual practices, regardless of the language spoken, they have the Ku-Kongo origins of Afro-Ka. So the mispronunciation of the Hebrew book, the entire Hebrew book of the Old Testament, is oftentimes called Tanakh. Now, I need to clear this up for you as well. The so-called Tanakh, it is not a form of an acronym for the three books that it contains, the Torah, the Nevi'im, and the Ketubim. It is not an acronym, TNK, that represents those three books. And I say that because the official Hebrew book, which I do have a copy of, all Hebrew, the official Hebrew book of Jerusalem is not named Tanakh, okay? It is actually named the three individual names of those books. So the word Tanakh is not used on the official Old Testament used in that land by the so-called Hebrews right now. And that is significant because they at least understood that the origin of that book or that name Tanakh was not of those three books' names. Now, let's jump back into the translation, back into the Ki-Kongo and Ki-Ba-Ntu names. That word, Tanakh, in Hebrew would be spelled Tav, Nun, Het. And that Tav is the TH, Nun is N, and the Het at the end is the KH sound. Now, what this is often translated as is the light or whatnot. Now, in Bantu, we have the proper pronunciations and also the proper concepts and meanings of this word spelled TNKH or THNKH. And what that would be spelled is Ta'anka or Tanga. Now, in Kiswahili, the word Tanga means the source of the brightest light. This is why the so-called Tanakh is called the Book of Light. In isiZulu, this word will be pronounced Ta-anka. And it's a very interesting spelling because the spelling in isiZulu would be T-H-A-N-G-Q-A. And it would be pronounced Ta-anka. And what that means is that is the name of the brightest light. Because Ta means the name, or name meaning giving of a name, and Nka means brilliance or the brightest light, something with the brightest shine. So in the Chibemba language, that word will be pronounced Sanka, Sanka, and that means the source of light. It means the source of a flame, the source of a lamp or whatnot. It just basically means a source of light. So you see that they're all talking about some source of light. And so we come to the Ki-Kongo language. And we have a word, Ntangu. And in the cosmology of the Bantu Congo, the word Tangu, Ntangu, means the source of the bright light. And it's specifically talking about the sun because it's talking about the bright light that's in the center of our solar system that gives us light. So as you can see, the name so-called Tanakh is not an acronym. It is not Torah, Nevi'im, Ketubim. Speaking of these three books, let's get into the translation of those names to see if they actually fit with Ba-Ntu languages according to the concepts being used by those books and also the translations that should be used in the Hebrew language. For that word, as you're familiar with, probably one of the most familiar Hebrew words, as you pronounce Torah or Torah. The spelling of that word is Tav, Wa, Ra, or Rash, and He. which would be T-U-R-H or T-O-R-H, because in the Hebrew language, the way it's pronounced today, the wa is pronounced either with an O or it's pronounced with a U. Now, what you must understand is that we come into another Ba-Ntu rule. And this Ba-Ntu rule states that the letters TH, here represented as Tav, is also a similar sound to the letter D when it's pronounced with a soft D. And the sound is actually not the TH sound as in thick or thing, but it is the TH sound of the. So as you can see, the TH and the D, once softened, they create a similar sound, the. So when we translate into these different languages, sometimes you see the TH, sometimes you see the T, sometimes you see the D. Just depends, again, on the dialect of the language and the pronunciation. So this word, as we pronounce Torah often, would actually be pronounced Duwara. Duwara. And what Duwara means is prayers to Ra. Ra being the great light or the sun. And I know by now you may be wondering exactly why I keep referring to the sun. And why do these translations mention so often the sun or the great light? You need to know first off that the word Afaraka, African, means people of the sun, so to speak. But if we actually take the book name, let's say we take the English name that we're trying to translate here, the English name is Holy Bible. And a lot of people really don't know the origin of the word Holy Bible. So I'll go ahead and help you out here. This book is not talking about any kind of spirituality that you may get in the European Western sense. It's not talking about clear people walking beside us and around us and floating in the air and whatnot. It's not talking about that. What the name Holy Bible means, which is how good these people are when they tricked you after writing this book, the word Holy Bible is a reference to the fact that the book is an astrotheological document. Okay, it's talking about the cosmology of Ku-Kongo. It's talking about the Afaraka. So the word Holy Bible means the book of the sun, because holy comes from Helio or Helios, and Bible comes from Biblios or Biblio, which means the sun book. So this is why there are so many references to Ra, one of the references being mistranslated as Elroy, but we're actually talking about Wari Ra or Wara. So you have a lot of references to the sun and the people of the sun, which is why they named the Bible the book of the sun or Holy Bible. So if we look at the cosmology and if we actually look at the documentation that's written, you always see praises to the great light, Tanga, and Tangu, and Ra, the sun and the light. So this word Duwara in Kiswahili means prayers to Ra. It's a direct translation. Now in isiZulu, we get the pronunciation Dua Lavu. Dua Lavu. And what that means is to stare up at the scorching heat or to stare up at the burning heat or the burning light. Obviously speaking about the sun. Now, on to the next book. The second book is called, it's often pronounced Nabayim or Nabayim, and that means the prophets in Hebrew, supposedly. But I admittedly haven't done enough research on that to present right now, but I'll do it at a later time. So what I'll do is go ahead and skip to the next book, and it's oftentimes called Ketubim or Ketubayim. And what this is supposed to mean is the books or the writings in Hebrew. Now, this word Ketubim or Ketubayim, using Hebrew characters, would be Kav, Tav, Wal, Bait, Yod, Mem. And in translating that into the English lettering, we get K, T, or that TH sound, Wal, which would either be an O or U, Now, in the Bantu languages, this would be pronounced Kitabuama, because the word in Kiswahili for book is Kitabu, and the word in Chibemba for book is Chitabo. So it's the exact same word that was translated into the ancient Hebrew language.